Welcome to our very first Cook Live with Chrissy and Dr. Kristi. So, in typical fashion, you should know something has already gone wrong, and that is that one of my very best friends, Chrissy, is muted. Her mic doesn't work, so she can either talk to my chest or talk loudly.
I'll be gesturing wildly.
Right. So anyway, we're so excited for you guys to join us today. I have a few announcements to make before we get started in cooking. Let's see. The feedback is going to...
There we go.
All right, great. So first things first, who's Chrissy? So besides being one of my BFFs, Chrissy is a physical therapist, a holistic nutritionist. She's a prolific writer on many plant-based blogs. She went whole food plant-based 9 years ago, right?
I did.
Coming up on a decade anniversary. And she does all the usual suspects in the plant-based world with podcasts. So you can YouTube her for all of her insights and brilliance. And I'm so blessed and excited that she is going to be doing these with me. This is the first of many. We're going to make it a monthly thing. We already have, I think, about 100 recipes banked and ready to rock. So today will be the first. And we are obviously live on Zoom and we're on Instagram. But if you want to ask questions and participate, you need to be on the Zoom. So go to pinklotus.com/kitchen to get the Zoom link if you're not on Zoom. And then your microphone should please already be muted. If it's not, please mute it now so that we can minimize the background noise. And chat away, like talk to each other, ask us questions. We'll be monitoring the chat this whole hour, and hopefully I'll get to answer as many of them as possible with Chrissy, who can talk to my chest. And if you want to rewatch this Zoom, because I dropped so many pearls of wisdom, then it will be posted tomorrow at pinklotus.com/kitchen. And it will have the recipe downloaded down for today's live cooking. All right, 3 announcements, and then we're ready to start blending.
Start blending, yeah.
Okay, so first one, Pink Lotus Power Up just launched its new open forums. And this is a completely ad-free, uncensored women's health forum where no topic is taboo, no topless pictures are taboo. If you want to tastefully post about reconstruction and chat with others, this is the place to do it. So make sure you check it out. It's on the website. Click on Community, and then let's talk. Number 2. The Cancer Kicking Summit is coming back again to the gorgeous oceanfront Terranea in Palos Verdes, California. If you'd like to register and join me October 14, 15, 16, by popular demand, we actually added a 3rd day. We're having breakout sessions and yoga and more cooking with Chrissy and Dr. Kristi live, but live and in person. Please, don't miss out on the opportunity to save yourself some buckaroos by signing up before May 5th, because the early bird special is about to fly away come May 6th. And finally, if you live in Los Angeles and you own a bicycle or have access to a bicycle or can rent a bicycle, we would love for you to join our event on May 7th. That's a Saturday. It's at 10 a.m. We are doing a beach bike ride. So that's going to be awesome. If you don't know, the local chapters are launching across the United States. LA is the only live and in-person one right now, but we are going all over the country in every major city. And if you yourself would like to start a local chapter and kind of spearhead it, Chrissy's your girl to then kind of give you all the deets on how to make that happen in your community. So you can sign up to be a leader in your community. Or if you're an LA girl, please come join us on the bike ride. Right. Local chapters, by the way, they're free for everybody, always. And every year we create events, biking, hiking, walking, running. We're doing some volunteer work. We're even going to go camping for a weekend. And much more, much more, all in the pursuit of a cancer-kicking lifestyle. So local chapters on the pinklotus.com/powerup. It's on the Power Up section. Just hit local chapters. All right. Talk to us, Chrissy. Okay. What are we doing today?
We are going to be making a turmeric latte. Can you hear me? Okay. Turmeric latte to start because we just want one.
Exactly.
And absolutely full of nutrition. And so we were gonna make one, have one, share it, and share it with you. So we are gonna start with some plant milk. Doesn't matter what kind. This is plant-based milk, unsweetened, and I suggest you use unsweetened milk always, because if they do add sugar to plant milk, they add a lot of sugar.
They do. It's usually like 7 to 8 grams, and you just don't need that rapidly absorbed into your bloodstream, spiking your glucose, spiking your insulin, an inflammatory state, which then lets all sorts of badness prosper inside your body.
Exactly.
This is pea protein-based milk, which is great. Any kind of dairy-free. We love plant-based milks. However, if you are one of my breast cancer thrivers, there's only so many opportunities in a day to get some soy into your body, and you know those anti-estrogenic properties of soy I've waxed on about in the past. You can use this latte as one of your soy servings if you choose soy milk.
Yes, you can.
What are we putting in here?
All right, so we're gonna put, this is about a quarter cup. I usually just do a handful. I'm not big on measuring things, which I think you know.
I know.
But I'm going to be. So, okay, quarter cup of almonds, raw almonds, to get some fat in there. And then I have some turmeric root and ginger root, which we're gonna just do like a nib. I love that word. So we're gonna peel it, and the way to peel ginger and turmeric is with a spoon, because it works well, and it is easy, and everybody has a spoon. And usually, I mean, if it's fresh ginger and fresh turmeric, only her mic is working, so I have to keep doing
We
this.
just really love each other and need to be close to one another all the time.
So, so anyway, if it's a good, it kind of lets you know if you have fresh ginger and fresh turmeric. It should peel really easily with a spoon. If it doesn't, you may want to get some new turmeric and new ginger in your life.
Right. It lasts for a while, but every once in a while, I'll take it out of the fridge and it's like shriveled
Stringy,
up.
I
Yeah,
know,
it's super
when
stringy.
it's shriveled and stringy. Okay, so we're going to throw
So
a nice size little
nib.
nib.
And here's a nib. Is this the right nib
Yeah, that's
amount?
fine,
Okay,
sure.
great.
We can always taste it and add more. That's the beauty of this. You taste it, you add more. You can't take it out though, so don't add too much to begin with. With turmeric, Kristi, I know she wants to tell you about the pepper.
I do. Okay, so
You do.
turmeric, the powerful component, the phytonutrient in turmeric that has so many anti-cancer properties is called curcumin. However, it is not all that bioavailable, usable to your cells, unless combined with the piperine in pepper, which makes it up to 2,000 times more bioavailable, and it's fat soluble. So our healthy fat in here is the almonds. Another beautiful healthy fat is flax seeds, and we're going to wax about flax when we make our flax egg.
Yeah, they're going to be in our burgers.
They're going to be in the burger.
Yeah, that's why I use this here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Changed it up.
All right, so I'm going to do about a half a teaspoon of cinnamon, another power spice.
Another power spice for its anti-inflammatory properties. Just word to the wise, there's 2 main types of cinnamon. There's cassia and Ceylon. And if you are someone who's going to use about a teaspoon or so of cinnamon daily in your life for those reasons, you always want to make sure you're getting Ceylon. Cassia has this substance called coumarin, which can thin your blood, which can be a problem. So if you eat a lot of cinnamon, make sure you're getting Ceylon.
Good to know. Okay. All right, so, all right, I'm going to blend.
Mugs?
No, it's going to be cassia.
I know, but mugs. You need mugs?
No, it's going to heat it up. Okay, that's probably blended enough. I might go a little slow. And kind of a trick when you use like something chunky in your blender, and you might know this already, you might not, is just kind of start slow and it grinds it up, and then ramp it up. Because if you just put it on high, you'll start pouring it, and all the things that were big chunks will end up still being big chunks.
Dates.
They just get,
that happens to dates.
Yes, they just get pushed to the top. So
Yeah. If you make my antioxidant smoothie and put the date in there, it'll come out like a chunk. Go ahead.
That's just a little pro tip. Okay, so let's see. All right, so it smells good, but I am going to taste it and make sure we don't need to add anything else, that we don't want more or less. Well, we can't do less, but we could do less because we can add more milk. There's always ways to get around this. It doesn't look super yellow. When you use turmeric root, it's not as yellow as if you use turmeric powder. One thing I would say with the powder is that you want to make sure that it is tested for heavy metals, because turmeric tends to like to hang on to lead. And so I always buy ones that have been tested. I'm sure you do the same thing. Okay, it needs more turmeric.
Okay.
All right, so we're just going to do a little bit more turmeric.
And while you do that, I'm
Yes,
going to
you
wax
go
on
ahead.
about how much I love turmeric and why. So the anti-cancer properties that I said they have, very specifically, turmeric decreases estrogen. Estrogen feeds and fuels 80% of breast cancers. So you're going to decrease the unwanted estrogen in your body. It induces something called cancer cell apoptosis. Apoptosis is a very medical fancy way of saying cancer cell suicide. Like your body just says, your time here has expired, so explode please, and we'll recycle your parts because I'm super efficient as a body. And it also suppresses inflammation via the COX-2 pathway. There was a study where they took people's blood and they exposed it to free radicals, and it sustained this base amount of DNA damage because of the free radical exposure. And then they went away for merely a week, and all they consumed was literally a pinch of powdered turmeric a day, came back next week, took their new blood, exposed it to the exact same free radical dosage, and the cells sustained half of the DNA damage. Incredible. I was told by my oncologist to not take turmeric supplements since I am on tamoxifen. What about other turmeric? Yeah, it can interfere with the liver CYP2D6 pathway where that metabolizes tamoxifen to make it active and do its thing in your body. So you're supposed to shy away from turmeric, but in dietary levels, like if you wanted to make this latte, it's not going to interfere. It's really the supplements because they're so hyper concentrated. So no supplements, but fresh, real turmeric. We're going to be making a vegan tikka masala one of the days coming up.
For sure.
And it is loaded with turmeric and delicious, and you are free to consume. So that's the answer. Now it's looking more yellow. It's looking more yellow.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to throw this in a pot. I'm going to pull up the food processor, and we can get going.
When you do a study, which somebody did, of turmeric head-to-head with curcumin, because some people might be like, along the supplement line, how about if I just pop a curcumin powder pill, which exists, and they are intelligently made. They add the piperine and pepper and have some fat, so they know that whole trick, and it comes in those capsules. But when going head-to-head against the actual turmeric powder or root, curcumin doesn't have as much cancer cell inhibition as the full spice. There you go.
And that's the case with a lot of foods. Like a lot of whole, if you eat the whole food, you get more out of it than eating the parts of the food.
We really don't know all of the subtle interplay between the phytonutrients and chemicals in whole foods. Mm-hmm. We haven't broken it down and been able to study it all that way. So you do miss out on the hidden pathways and synergies of foods and combined whole foods when you are like, well, I just take a supplement. I just take broccoli sprout supplement. No, my friend. I want the real sprouts. Okay, I'm a breast cancer navigator, yay, in Ventura County, and I'm so excited about this. I share your website with all my patients. That means so much to me. Thank you. Share pinklotus.com as the landing page, but Power Up is where it's at for all of your patients. There's so much community there, information. There's even fundraising available. We've got breast buddies, if you haven't noticed that, which is incredible. And so check it out, Power Up.
Okay.
Let's cook.
Let's cook. All right, so we have here soaking. I'm going to just pull this up really quick. This is cashews that are soaking. And you'll need to do this. I know no one's cooking live with us, but you want to always soak your cashews well ahead of when you start cooking, preferably like 3 to 4 hours, although you could use boiling water and do a quick soak. I don't know. I don't know why I like soaking them longer. Maybe I'm just old school, but
It could be. I mean, so one of the things that I do is I always take a full bag of raw, unsalted cashews, soak them overnight in the fridge, drain them, rinse them, and then put them in the freezer so that I always have them at the ready. There's always a bag ready to rock.
Yeah.
But in a pinch, you can boil water, pour it over, and it'll be ready in an hour. This is for the cashew sriracha sauce that we're making. This doesn't go in the beans.
Yeah, it's going to go on top of the burgers. But I just wanted to let you know, like, if you're making this, kind of think ahead and soak your cashews. Okay, so now we're going to start making the burgers. All right, there's two ways of doing this. You could, well, let's just go with what we're going to do. We're going to put the beans in first.
Okay.
Okay.
We're going to rinse the beans. I want to talk a little bit about, I'd love to talk a lot about beans. I mean, beans are literally the food that is common to all 5 blue zones. If you don't know, blue zones are where the longest lived populations on planet Earth exist. They are uniformly have more centenarians, people making it to 100, and 100 living autonomously, living well, still robust and working out and working in gardens and things, mentally with it, no Alzheimer's. So these blue zones, when they were examined in conjunction with National Geographic, Dan Buettner traveled the world for, I think, 5 years, and he lived in amidst these different populations and then wrote a book about all the commonalities seen. There were 9 that he distilled. But one of them was that they predominantly ate 95% or more whole food, plant-based. That is how they ate. Minimal meat. But when you subanalyze the food, the one food component common to all 5 was beans. Different beans in each region, but beans nonetheless. So it is a longevity food for sure. It is packed with fiber. Is there a substitute for cashews? Would skinless almonds work for the sauce? Sunflower seeds?
Yeah, you could do raw sunflower seeds. Those work. Almonds don't work as well. They don't blend smooth. Almonds work well for if you're trying to make a vegan cheese that is a little more textured, but they don't blend. I mean, maybe if you soak them a really long time and skin them, but even if you make almond milk and you blend it forever and then you strain it through through a strainer, you still get quite a bit in there. So, and that's removing the skin and everything. So I think it's hard to do it with almonds, but I think sunflower seeds. I've never done it. But you could try
I think
it.
they're a good substitute.
Yeah. Cheers.
Cheers, my friend.
Look how yellow it is now.
Woo, ginger.
Yeah.
I love it though. I love it. So,
okay, lots of ginger.
By the way,
I usually put a little more cinnamon on the top.
Turmeric, just to make it purty. I think it's over there. Boop. If you have gallstones, no turmeric for you. It can stimulate gallbladder contraction, and then the stone gets lodged or dislodged, and cholecystitis. That's so pretty. Thank you.
Sure.
All right. So we're rinsing the beans. Here's an interesting thing. It's called farting. Oh, wait. I know that your recipes are directed towards breast cancer patients, but do they have any impact on liver cancer patients? 100 million% yes. Any cancer patients, any people who happen to be alive will benefit from eating all of these recipes that we're going to go through and post over the years. Why? Because ultimately, all disease and all cancer thrives in an environment of inflammation. And all of these recipes are specially crafted to maximally squelch inflammation in your body. And cancer has a few properties that it doesn't care where it started from: liver, colon, breast, what have you. It wants inflammation, free radical formation, DNA mutation, and angiogenesis, angio blood vessel genesis birth, the birth of new blood flow. So in order for cancer, liver or breast, to survive past the size of a tip of a ballpoint pen, and what cancer doesn't aspire to get bigger than that, it must create its own blood flow, angiogenesis. And a number of the foods that we're going to put in this burger are anti-angiogenic, squelching the blood flow that is bringing that liver cancer its nutrients to grow. So foiled, yes, it's good for all cancer.
And we may mention as well that it helps with diabetes, it helps with heart disease.
Yeah.
Like there's pretty much the top 7 causes of death are helped by eating this
By
way.
eating plant-based.
You can avoid them or try to avoid them
Yeah.
by eating
So
plant-based.
number one cause of death, heart disease, right? Heart disease, stroke, diabetes, Alzheimer's, all types of cancer, obesity, and then just things that don't kill you, but they kill your joy and zest for living.
Yes.
Chronic autoimmune diseases, ulcerative colitis, Crohn's, joint pain, asthma, even acne can upset me. And that's improved. Okay, so beans. We're rinsing the beans. And I was about to talk farts.
Yes,
because
please talk farts.
the big complaint from many a person about bean consumption, of course, is flatulence. And it's from the raffinose in beans. Raffinose, anything that ends in ose is a sugar, right? So this sugar, believe it or not, is the reason for the farts. But believe it or not, soaking the beans, so if you're making them when they're not canned, and you're soaking them the longer the better, but you soak and rinse and soak and rinse. The raffinose is literally water soluble. So you're pulling it out into the water and then rinsing it away down your sink. That is why it is critical. Someone who's like thrifty or thinks there's flavorful water in here may be right, but if you use the whole can and the juice it comes in, you are pouring back the raffinose and just basically pouring in liquid farts.
Your family will not like you. We have boys. I have 2 boys. She has 3 boys, and it's a big part of our house. And if I can reduce that chance by preparing their food,
Yeah.
so that they can't use it later, I'm going to do that.
Exactly.
Okay, so we have beans in here. We're barely going to pulse these beans. We're just going to get them going a little bit. Okay, so just a tiny bit. All right, because we're going to add other things, and we don't want them so broken down that when we add everything else, they're just total mush. We don't want that.
Because the burgers will fall apart.
They will fall apart. So we're also going to add a tablespoon of, where am I measuring spoons? A tablespoon of flax. Okay, so ground flax, or flax needs to be ground like very frequently, because whole flax seeds, if you ground flax, it breaks down and the nutrition breaks down over like a short period of time. So if you have whole flax seeds, you could put them in your coffee grinder and grind them in there, and then you'll have flax meal ready to go, because you have to use flax meal in recipes, and your body digests flax meal better than whole flax seeds. In fact, it doesn't. You don't get the nutrition from the flax seeds unless you grind them, and I'm sure you can talk to the lignans.
Yes, I can talk to the lignans and about lignans.
I know you love
So
talking about
lignans,
lignans.
I love you. And this is why you love lignans. They are anti-estrogen compounds, and they are found 100 to 800 times more plentifully in flax than any other food on planet Earth. Not to mention that the omega-3 content is also higher in flax seeds than any other food on planet Earth, the healthy omega-3 fatty acids. Lignans exert all sorts of anti-cancer virtues, but they are incredible at reducing the metastasis capacity of both estrogen positive and estrogen negative cancers. So there's something else besides the anti-estrogen component. Another thing about the ground, so the hull, when you eat whole flax, you just poop it out. Your body can't break through the hull, and so you have to grind it. If you buy your flax ground, as do I, just keep it in the fridge and use it up in 3 months. If it passes the 3-month mark, throw it out. It's going rancid.
Yeah, you probably use so much flax that that's not a problem for you.
Right.
I kind of do too, but I end up grinding it up when I need it, because a lot of times when I use flax, it's in a smoothie, and you could put whole flax seeds in your smoothie.
Because it'll grind, yeah.
Because it grinds in the blender. So.
Okay, so these are oats, right?
Yes, a half a teaspoon of organic. Sorry, this is a cup, not a teaspoon. Half a cup of organic oats.
So we emphasized organic because we were just talking before we went live. Oats are have the highest concentration of glyphosate. You know, like Roundup that's sprayed on crops to kill off, it's a pesticide or herbicide. It's most heavily concentrated in oats of all foods. So make sure you're eating organic when you go for oats. Never, ever, ever bother eating instant oats, quick oats. They are very pulverized. They turn to sugar fast in your body, and that whole cycle that I mentioned a second ago, spiking the sugar, spiking the insulin. The only 2 oats on planet Earth I want you eating are always organic, but either old-fashioned oats or steel cut. Those are the only 2. If you got other ones, you're just eating sugar, baby. Can you freeze ground flax seeds to retain the nutrition? Yes, you can freeze them. So that was from Monica to everyone. Yes.
Okay, I just want to say that we are going to post this recipe, but I just put in a half a cup of oats and a quarter cup of breadcrumbs. I'd rather use whole grain breadcrumbs, but
that's my
whole grain
trick.
bread.
I
That's what she uses.
always put it in the toaster, like at the top of what I'm cooking. I put it in the toaster, toast it up, and then just put it out and let it go to the air. Or I can just wait for Sebastian to come in the kitchen because he's always making toast and then forgetting that he put it in the toaster. And then I have 2 rocks there and I'm like, bread isn't free. Anyway, then you just put it in a food processor or just crumble it up and then voila, breadcrumbs. And that way I know it came from an organic, 100% whole grain bread.
Okay. So we're going to give it, oops. What happened?
So
sorry. This.
Oh yeah,
Okay, so
so
we're
picky.
Gonna pulse again. Okay, so I put a tablespoon of flax and I put 3 tablespoons of water, and then I did everything else that we just mentioned and give it another little whirl here, and then we're gonna add our spices. So
pause. Chrissy's original, like OG original gangster recipe stopped here, right?
no salsa.
Oh, it's salsa.
Yeah.
And plus salsa. Quarter cup. This is making 4 burgers, by the way. So 1 can and 4 burgers. So I have to double everything because there's 5 of us. The original recipe, in my opinion, kind of plain, but that's what young kids often like. Like the more boring, the more they eat. So spices can be a turnoff to children. So pick and choose which spices you add, if any. But I love the spiciness. So another question from Robin to everyone. Can I roast flax before grinding? It tastes very good this way. I eat oat groats. Oat groats are amazing. Love that you eat them. And yes, you can roast them and then grind them. Cooking flax loses Zippo in terms of nutritional value.
It does, though, change the flavor. No, it changes the flavor a lot.
Which is what she loves.
But you love it, so that's great. But it will change the flavor of everything you put it in, especially a smoothie. It tastes a little like, is it toasted sesame? I don't. It has a much stronger flavor. So as long as you like it, yeah, great. All right, quarter of a cup of salsa.
Make sure it's not watery, too watery.
Yeah,
salsa.
don't buy a salsa that's too watery, and if it is, just don't use that part of it because it'll be too moist. All right, so we're gonna start adding seasoning, and you wanna, let's see.
So yeah, I'm big on seasoning. I find that when I follow other people's recipes and they're like a 1/4 teaspoon of this and a 1/4 teaspoon of that, I'm usually like 3x because I don't even taste the spices and I kind of like the zing from it. So I go big on spice, but you can tone it down if you want. Like I literally will put in like a tablespoon. What is that, the paprika?
That's the smoked paprika, smashed
Okay,
paprika.
well that has
That's
much,
less,
that's a
lot of
half a
flavor.
teaspoon.
Yeah, that's a half a teaspoon, but
Then I put 2 teaspoons of everything else and a tablespoon or so. So it's really easy to find vegan Worcestershire. Shush. But double check because it's going to have fish sauce?
Fish sauce, yeah.
In it, if it's not vegan. So just check your ingredients, but it will say vegan. There's the Whole Foods has one in their brand, and so does Ralph's in their Simple Truth organic brand. They have an organic Worcestershire sauce.
Worcestershire.
Okay.
So we're putting garlic powder. We're putting cumin, paprika, chili powder. All the amounts are posted, so you don't need to worry about writing them down or anything. Worcestershire.
And if you like your world with salt and pepper, you can add a little salt and pepper.
And garlic powder.
Yep, garlic powder.
Okay, so. Oh, you put 2 teaspoons of garlic powder, huh?
I just love garlic.
See, and I don't usually put any.
Guess who
I'm
doesn't
not a
like
big
garlic?
person.
Well, neither. So cancer hates garlic. So garlic is very anti-cancer.
I know. I wish I could eat more of it. Okay, so let's see. Now we're gonna pulse. We're gonna get it, and with the food processors. By the way, you do not need a food processor to do this. You can mash it all with a
fork?
a fork or anything.
Potato masher.
You will have whole oats in there, which is okay. You'll have whole oats, and as long as you use, some type of what do you call them? Breadcrumbs that are very fine. You won't even notice. So the only thing you'll see is the oats in your black beans. So it's not a big deal. Okay, so we're going to get this like not too blended and sticky because we want them to stick together. So that's where we are now. I can now wet my hands because then this won't stick to my hands and form patties, or I could put it in the fridge and form patties, which will be easier to form once it's in the fridge. So I'm just going to put this whole thing in the fridge in the interest of time.
Yeah, and the reason for you want a 20-minute at least cooling time so that it will bind together better. So while she's away for a sec, let me talk to you a little bit more about beans and fiber because I'm obsessed with, my new obsession that I'm studying nonstop is the microbiome. When I was in med school, the microbiome was not a word that I think anybody ever said. And fiber was literally this insoluble stool bulking agent that then made your poops more regular. Like that was it. End of the fiber discussion, moving on. This could not be further from the truth. And in the last 20 years, the whole idea and concept of a microbiome has been just blooming. And the last 8 years in particular, the research has led to a much better understanding, but still just, I think, scratching the surface. So it turns out we've got 38 trillion bugs in our bodies. We're 43% human and 57% microbiome. There's less of us as human cells than there are these critters. The critters are bacteria, fungi, algae, viruses, parasites, but mostly bacteria and mostly living in your colon. So guess what the microbiome eats? Fiber. And why does this matter? So your fiber passes through your small intestine exactly the way you chewed and swallowed it down. Like when I think fiber, from how I used to think about fiber, it was like Metamucil in a glass, throwing it down, just so that your like grandmother
get a little fiber.
would poop.
Regular.
Yeah. So you're chopping an onion.
I am.
Are we getting ready for toppings? We're making the caramelized onions.
Caramelized onions.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm doing this while you're talking.
Please do.
Yeah.
And couple tips if you don't know. My dad taught me this. You cut an onion over an open flame, like next to your burner, and then you don't cry. I've also heard you can put bread in your mouth, but then you kind of waste the bread because you end up slobbering on it. Do you have any other tricks for not crying?
I found since I wear glasses.
Oh, yeah.
That since I've been wearing glasses, I don't have as much issue with the crying.
Right.
Also, if you refrigerate them first.
Yeah.
And then cut them.
That's true.
You're not as.
That's true.
careful.
I can't eat tomatoes. What can I replace it with?
You could replace it with red peppers.
Oh, yeah.
Just some red peppers soaked in water.
You'll
Absolutely can do that. So I'm cutting some onions. These are sweet onions. We're going to make some balsamic onions to go on top of the burgers. I like to cut them in rings and then throw them in the pan like this. And we're going to teach you how to broth saute because it's a tool that we use a lot in plant-based cooking.
Because you don't need the oil. You really don't. You're not going to miss it for caramelizing these onions. They're going to taste equally as delicious and without the saturated fat that you don't need. I just did this whole meal again over the weekend. My parents came over for a barbecue and we made this recipe. And I will say at the top of cooking, like before I made the beans, I guess you can do that because you're going in the fridge, but I started sauteing the onions right away because it takes a long time.
It does take a long time. Yeah.
So you might want to start with your onions. First, throw the hot water on your cashews if you need to soak them. Second of all, get these sauteing in broth just because they're going to take 20 minutes or so. But that'll work for the fridge if you're doing it. So the microbiome and fiber. Beans, the wonderful fruit. So remember the longest lived people on Earth in the blue zones, they all have beans in common. So what's magical about beans and what I'm about to say about the fiber, so it's 15 grams of fiber per cup of black beans, 15 grams of protein per cup of black beans. So it's a phenomenal source of both those, protein and fiber. It's packed with vitamins and minerals. You've got copper, magnesium, manganese, calcium, zinc. It's loaded with all of these amazing minerals that you definitely need. And it has phytonutrients, plant-based nutrients, things like saponins, which have been shown to decrease cancer cell proliferation and metastases. Things like quercetin, which is directly connected to improved vascular endothelium, like the blood vessel lining, so that you have less coronary and carotid artery disease, ergo less heart attacks and strokes. There's other camphor, and there's one other one. Anyway. It is a really magical food. So back to the fiber. When it comes down the pike to your microbiome in your colon, These little critters, their favorite food source and pretty much what they munch on more than anything is insoluble fiber. And what they do with it is incredible. And we're just starting to really understand. But they literally produce what, what's his name? Will Bushevitz, I think.
Yes, I can't pronounce his name. Yeah,
Yes.
that book is amazing.
That book is amazing. It's like Happy Gut. No, wait, which one is this? He's like, anyway.
I have it sitting upstairs.
He's like a world famous gastroenterologist whose whole focus is the microbiome. And he says, okay, yeah, why not give him a pitch? Yeah. He says in his book that what those microbiota do with the fiber creates the most healing and the most anti-inflammatory compound in all of nature and in all of his extensive research. And it is, drum roll, the short chain fatty acid. Short chain fatty acids. Oh, fiber fueled. Yes. Toop boop. Fiber fueled. Is that it?
This is it.
Woo-oo.
You can see I'm
Fiber
halfway through.
fueled. This is brilliant. If you want to learn everything that we currently know about the microbiome, here you go. Will Bushevitz. That sounds like I'm swearing. Okay, so short chain fatty acids, I just want you to understand, the reason why they're so healing, the reason why they're so anti-inflammatory is they kind of infuse into the colon wall and they create that mucus barrier that keeps the bad bacteria in your colon. So there's this world of the microbiome is a mixture of good fellas and bad fellas. And the way to populate the good is to eat fiber and to eat a plant-based diet. The bad fellas you may recognize by names like Salmonella or Shigella or E. coli because they cause outbreaks and mad cow disease and things like that. So it's always this population of good versus bad, and you want the good to be winning out. And they do that by being fed fiber, creating short-chain fatty acids that maintain the healthy balance of these bacteria in your colon. They also help with weight loss, potentially. They create satiety, and they're 70% of your immune system, we just recently found out in the last 8 years, is actually in your gut. And the short-chain fatty acids create all this cross-talking with your immune system, like sort of stimulates it to wake up and notice that cancer cell, notice these bad actors, these viruses, like coronavirus in your body. So actually part of Will's research was to show that, remember when coronavirus first hit the world stage, like in March 2020, and people were not faring well. They were ending up on respirators in the ICU and dying at much, higher rates than now it's controlled-ish. What he found out and what he surmised and then proved and published about a year ago was that those who had a microbiome that was fiber fueled and had the presence of good bacteria predominantly and not the bad were the ones who were like, COVID, no big, it's just like a cold to me. The ones who had the opposite balance in their colons were the ones on the respirators. It stands to reason, though, that when they say comorbidities like obesity and heart disease, et cetera, those people fared worse with COVID. I bet they also had the worst microbiome, and it all stems back to how they're eating. What broth are you using to saute onions, please,
okay, yes,
Jennifer?
I'm glad you asked, because
okay.
I do need to talk about this, because I want you to see this too. This is just Trader Joe's hearty organic vegetable broth. I guess you could kind of figure out that I'm semi-obsessed with Trader Joe's. But I do like this is fat-free, it doesn't have a lot of salt, and it's fine for broth sauteing. I want to show you, because a lot of people think if you broth saute, you're not going to get that caramelization, it's not going to be as good. It is, you do. And I'm going to walk this over there so you can see it. Can you see it? Yeah? Okay. So look. Okay. Can you see this? Should I walk over? Okay. And then, see? Okay. They're turning brown. They're getting caramelized. They look amazing. Now what I'm not doing is boiling these onions. If I put too much broth, I'm boiling the onions, and then I'm not getting a saute that I would get if I was using some type of oil. Okay, so you add the tiniest bit at a time. I just keep adding little drips, and it'll sizzle just as if there's oil in there, and then I'll toss it around. And they're looking really good.
So they do require some babysitting.
They do require babysitting, yes. You can't just walk away. They require a little babysitting in the beginning, then you can walk away a little bit. Okay, so
the other day I walked away for too long, and when I came back, they were like to the bottom. But then I just scraped them up, and they were delicious.
They were amazing,
yeah,
right?
they were. So I highly recommend just ignoring them for a minute.
Okay, so they're getting to a point now where I'm going to add a little balsamic. You want them about, I think, 70% done before you add the balsamic. So I'm going to feel them. And these are sweet onions, so they do cook up faster. Onions all depend on what type of onion you're using as to how long they take to cook. These don't take very long. So I'm going to add a little balsamic now. And then I'm going to let that cook off. And these should be pretty good. Ooh, sorry.
Sorry.
Get out there.
This balsamic has a little sugar in it. I recognize it. So it's pretty yummy.
Oh, it does.
9 grams.
Yeah. Oh, because it has grape must.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But it's quite delicious.
Yes.
Marianne Knox to everyone. Do specific foods contain short-chain fatty acids, or are they found in fibrous foods? So what a great question, because you know what the answer is? They're not in food. You literally have to eat fiber, and your gut bacteria makes short-chain fatty acids. That's the only way to get them. Oh, well, supplements. So like acetate, butyrate, I think the butyrate supplements are the most popular and common. But no, they're not in the food. It's made by your body, by the bacteria. Your body actually lacks the enzyme to make short-chain fatty acids. It's all about the bacteria digesting the insoluble fiber.
Okay, now we're just going to let these sit. I'm going to put them on low. I had them on fairly high when we were just going there. So I'm going to put them on low. They're going to sit here with the balsamic. I may add a little more, but they're good for now. So let's go ahead and make our sauce. I'm going to move this because we are done with
I'm
it.
going to have some turmeric.
So good. Look how it's gone from like semi-yellow to...
Yeah, to ochre yellow.
Okay. How do you feel about monk fruit to sweeten things up?
Oh, so monk fruit sweetener.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk sweeteners.
I think we should, because I put a little monk fruit in my turmeric latte because we use the non-sweetened milk, and so I do like a little tiny bit of monk fruit in there.
And who wouldn't? But so if you're the very like the least glycemic index, like the one that's going to be least inflammatory in your body as a processed sugar form, is going to be date sugar. Why? Because it's truly just pulverized dates. So it's the only sugar that is actually a whole food, just pulverized. Okay. So in choosing sugar, the tippity top best would be date sugar. Next in line, it's maple syrup is up there, honey and molasses. Those are the top 4. But as like a diehard vegan, I don't do honey. But the reason is not nutritional. It's just they're very unkind to bees. And yeah, so those are your top 4. And then monk fruit would come ranking down. There's a really lovely informative video by Michael Greger on nutritionfacts.org.
Did he do monk fruit?
He did an analysis, or he reported on a study that did an analysis of like how rapidly absorbed the sugars are on 36 different sugars. So the 4 that I just gave you are the top best ones.
Okay. All right. I put my drained cashews in the blender, and we're just making a little bit of sauce for the burgers, like a sriracha sauce. So I'm going to do this lemon. I'm going to squeeze in 1 lemon. This was a huge lemon, so I'm just doing half. But if it's a small lemon, then do the whole thing. And you could buy organic lemon juice that's already squeezed for you. But
And look at this ridiculously cute thing that Chrissy has. So this is for the lemon. It's like when you have a half of a food left, she has these silicone covers for them. So she's got this one. I got to show you. This is ridiculously cute. This is my favorite, the avo, yeah. So the avocado one, and it keeps it from browning, yeah?
Yes. Oh my gosh, they work great. They're silicone. Yeah, they work amazingly
So
well.
it's got like, the room for the pits. You got to have half an avo. And then she's got a tomato one. So cute.
Yeah, they're adorable, and they work really well. They're very functional. Okay, so I have the cashews in there, and now we're going to add the lemon and some Cholula. You could use sriracha, anything that has a little heat. And I'm going to add water, but I'm only going to add water so it comes up the tiny, like about halfway up the cashews. Again, as we mentioned before, you can add it, but you can't take it out. So if you put too much, and once the cashews have soaked, they take on water. So if you put too much, then you end up, with just watery cashews. So that's not.
And I want to emphasize rinsing them. So, phytates are most plentiful in beans, but they're in nuts too. So you want to rinse, get rid of the phytates. From Ivis Ramirez to everyone, how do you like coconut sugar? So again, coconut sugar is, it amounts to table sugar. I wish it weren't so. It sounds like it would be healthier and better, but it's, yeah.
Okay, so this, you end up wanting to kind of scrape it down. If you make a large amount of this, it's great. It's very easy to blend. If you don't make a large amount, you kind of have to scrape it down a few times. It doesn't keep that well. It lasts for like 3 days in the fridge, so it's pretty perishable. So I try not to make too much because I don't like wasting things, and I feel like if I make a ton, yes, it's easier to blend, but then like a week from now, I'm dumping the whole jar out. So it's
I
a little
find
pesty, but
making this
okay.
sauce in my food processor is better than the Vitamix.
Yes. Yeah, you can make it in the food processor too. And if my food processor was not in my fridge right now,
With the burgers,
I would probably use that. But it works this way. You just have to scrape it down a little bit. But yes, it does work really well in there too, although you probably have to scrape that as well. Okay, so I think we'll probably, the onions are looking pretty good.
It's making me hungry.
I want to show you.
Oh, how they're looking?
Yeah. You see these? So they are looking very caramely and very soft, and that's how you want them. And I'm just going to keep them going. You kind of can't overdo them. You can burn them. You don't want to do that, but you can keep them on low heat, and they'll just keep getting sweeter, which is nice.
I'm going to blend a little more. Did you put the sriracha in there?
I did, but I'm going to put a little more. Oh yeah, you and your spice.
I'm a spice wimp.
She's spicy.
I mentioned phytates. So I'd like to mention them a little bit more. Phytates and lectins, they get a really bad rap for beans, all the legumes, lentils, beans, peas, chickpeas, split peas, some nuts and seeds. And the bad rap is not warranted at all. I don't know if it's a marketing gimmick or people crazily misinformed, but for those of you who don't know, so inositol, phosphatidylinositol, IP6, hexa, yeah. So IP6, aka phytic acid, aka phytates. They're called anti-nutrients because they can and will interfere with the absorption of calcium and iron. That's fine.
Okay.
Let's mix it up.
Okay. Yeah, I think that the bad rap came from one person in particular.
Yeah.
Who
happens to have a line of supplements that are like they cure you from your phytates.
And he used one study where people ate undercooked kidney beans.
Yeah, so
everything is based, and himself. And when he does talks, he talks about how, well, if I eat beans, my stomach hurts. And like that's legitimately his
whole reason.
Research.
Okay, so the truth is they exist and they are anti-nutrients. They interfere with the absorption of calcium, iron, and zinc. And they are also powerful antioxidants and anti-cancer compounds that you don't want to miss out on. And spoiler alert, all you have to do is soak them, rinse them, ferment them, and then
your beans long enough.
and cook them. So the highest concentration of lectins, which is also an anti-nutrient, interfering with absorption, its real thing is a toxicity level that that healthy mucus barrier that your short chain fatty acids create, it destroys, and then it creates like abdominal cramping, nausea, vomiting, and diarrhea. However, you have to eat your beans raw. I mean, and crack all your teeth open? Like, who eats raw beans?
No. People don't.
Nope.
So you're okay.
So you're
Eat your
okay.
beans.
Lectin free.
And if you worry like, oh, I think my beans might be underdone, I'm nervous, make them in a pressure cooker.
Right.
And all the beans that you buy in the cans are made in a pressure cooker. So you're good. So eat your beans. Eat lots of beans. Okay, let's see. It's getting there. I'm just gonna leave it on for a sec.
Okay.
Okay. Still going, doing its thing. Looks beautiful.
So pretty.
All right.
I really can cook. I'm just like observing and being the mobile microphone today.
You have a lot of information.
I do. I like to.
And I don't have a mic, so
Yeah, right. What are we looking for?
I'm looking for a specific pan.
Oh.
That's okay. I don't need to use it. I'm gonna dump these out. Okay. So that looks pretty good.
So toppings. We can talk toppings.
Okay.
We've got the cashew sriracha sauce and the caramelized onions, delish. But then just all the usual suspects, anything you want to put in. So we've got lettuce, tomato, avocado, pickles, ketchup, mustard, relish, mayonnaise, chipotle mayo, all the things that you love on a burger, you'll want to add to this burger. Sides. Just the usual there too. You could do a vegan coleslaw. We're going to do a side day too. That's going to be fun. But you can do a vegan coleslaw or roasted potatoes. The other day when I said we had the barbecue, Andy made his oh so famous roasted broccoli and zucchini and mushrooms. So we had a bunch of veggie sides.
Yeah. Did you grill those? Did you do those on the
Grill?
stove or on the grill?
I did.
Oh, you did? Okay. I don't know why they looked like they were grilled when you sent me the picture.
Oh.
Yeah, they look so good. So here's our onions. They are done. We'll let them sit. And we're going to do burgers. All right. So you want to
Oh, now that I just put my hands in my hair, I'm going to wash my hands.
wash my hands? Yeah, we're going to wash our hands and then we're going to go. Any other questions?
None for now.
I could form them too, if you want me to.
It's fine. We have no questions.
All right, see, it's nice now. It's not going to be too sticky. And another thing you want to do if you do make homemade burgers, bean burgers in general, you want to have your hands a little wet, and then it doesn't stick. If your hands are super dry, no matter what they are, they usually stick a little bit. So let's make sure that's the case. And we're going to start forming those. We could put them on the plate, and then we'll put them on the pan. I'm just going to rinse the pan off. There we go.
So like I said, this is meant
Butter, it's a little better.
to grill. Yeah, they go faster
grill
too.
them.
Ha-ha, take that, Impossible Burger. Which, by the way, you may have a question about that. Impossible Burgers, Beyond Beef, there's sausages and there's fake fish sticks and chicken sticks and everything. They're all formulated in food labs to mimic as best they can the nutritional content of actual beef, right? So we're talking lots of fat and highly processed whole foods. So it's a cheat day for us. I'm not adamantly opposed to it, and especially if you're new to plant-based, by all means, whatever. It's always a compared to what? People say, well, what about Impossible Burgers? So much better than a beef burger because you're not going to elevate IGF-1, insulin-like growth factor, which is the big daddy responsible basically for all cancer formation. You have to have IGF-1, insulin-like growth factor. Your body knows how much you need for the day's deal because you turn over a shocking 50 billion cells a day, and IGF-1 is responsible for doing that. But in excess, it's screaming at everything to grow. Grow cancer, grow metastases, grow fat, grow plaque, right? So the only thing that elevates IGF-1 beyond the needs of the day for your body is eating animal protein. So Impossible Burger, better than the beef burger. This bean burger, so much better than the Impossible Burger.
But in trying to get your family, especially kids, teenagers, if you do like I did, I switched my family over very abruptly. We did use some of those meats,
Transition foods
to get us through.
For sure.
Unfortunately, there weren't that many, or fortunately, I don't know, but there weren't that many existed 9 years ago. There's so many now.
So many now.
Yeah.
So Marianne is asking, what do you think about all the oil in vegan mayonnaise? And I think that is a perfect question to continue this topic. And that is, I think that if you're transitioning and you're used to eating tuna fish salad with a bunch of mayo and tuna, and now you're going to mash up a bunch of chickpeas and use vegan mayo to make tuna fish, go for it. But if your palate has had enough time to acclimate to a more plant-based eating, so you're not missing the fats that you found in all of the animal foods, then it's bad for you. Like, oil is inflammatory. It has been shown to actually increase arterial pressure within, I think it's like 3 minutes of eating oil. So it's not really a health food. It's been stripped of all of its goodness. So like even olive oil in its like Oval Office days, it had fiber and phytonutrients and vitamins and minerals all in that olive. So eating an olive is very different than having oil. No matter how you slice and dice and press it, you will always, always find 120 calories of pure fat in a tablespoon of oil. End of story. The details of the story are, what's the breakdown of the fat? So it turns out omega-3 fatty acids are the healthiest, right, on the planet. So what are your 2 oils that are highest in omega-3 fatty acids? Extra virgin olive oil, and this one's going to shock you if you didn't already know, organic expeller pressed canola oil. Those are the 2 highest in omega-3s. Those are the only 2 oils I have in my house, and we use them sparingly. Vegan mayo is going to be filled with it's usually like safflower oil, sunflower oil, very inflammatory.
Some of them are made with
a lot of omega-6.
Canola oil.
Yeah, so pick one like that.
Yeah, and also just use a little tiny bit. That's what I did when I made the transition and I was having some of these transition foods because I did miss mayo. I would just use the tiniest bit. Like if I make a chickpea salad, I put a teaspoon of mayo in it and then a bunch of Dijon mustard and some celery and some pickles, like nice savory things in there, especially the pickles, give it that savory taste, that salty yumminess. You don't need a lot of mayo. A teaspoon will get you through. And that's what I do with olive oil too. Sometimes I'm eating a salad and I just need like a little tiny drizzle and I save it for that because you don't need to cook with it.
Right.
But you do need to buy good nonstick pans. If you're going to be a plant-based cook, you do need to get some decent nonstick pans. And Teflon isn't great. I have parrots. You might have heard them while we're standing here making noise upstairs. You can't have Teflon around parrots because it kills them. The fumes kill them. So I figure if
right,
we shouldn't be around it either. It also leaches into the food, etc. So you want to try to find a pan that's coated with not Teflon, like Scan pans, Green Pan, Analon
Amazon
pans.
Basics has good.
That are coated with. Okay, good. Yeah, anything that's not.
So, Phyllis is asking everyone, what do you think about Dr. Prager's veggie burgers? I think they're delicious. I think they're filled with oil. And I think they're better than Impossible and Beyond Meat burgers. But they're all still part of that story of eat sparingly and make your own bean burgers.
And in all the veggie burgers, look at the fiber content of the burgers on the package and look at the fat. And then try to pick the one with the most fiber and the least amount of fat.
Mm-hmm.
And even Prager, they're all different. Some of them have more oil, some of them have less.
It's true.
So I want to kind of check them out. All right, so these are going, they're not done yet. And what happens if we make them kind of thick, you end up having to, I end up just putting a top on the pan a little bit, which you can do, because it's not like a burger like where you, I don't want it well done. This is fine, you want it well done because it's beans. You don't need to eat raw beans, or they're cooked, but you know what I mean. It's not going to be tasting amazing if it's cold inside. So.
And it's not going to taste, this is not going to taste like a burger.
No, it's not. We're not even pretending it's going to taste like a real burger.
Like a hamburger. It's not. This is not an attempt to be an Impossible burger.
Right.
Yvonne is asking to everyone, so would you say a plant-based diet with no meat is better than, say, a Mediterranean diet? I would say yes, it is better than a Mediterranean diet. The Med diet, however, is next in line. So you're going to be adding back a little more olive oil and the fish and perhaps red wine. So except for the fish in that trio, everything else is plant-based. So what's wrong with fish? Again, is going to be a compared to what question. There's a lot of nuts also in the Mediterranean diet, a lot of whole grains and veggies. It's a wonderful diet. It just comes down really to the fish. And again, of all the animal proteins you could pick to eat, fish would be the least offensive to your cells, but it's still going to elevate IGF-1. The fish, no matter how happy and wild they were, are swimming in a really grotesque ocean these days. It's filled with microplastics and dioxins, PCBs, polychlorinated biphenyls.
Yeah.
And the mercury level gets worse as you eat a bigger and older fish, right? Because it keeps eating.
PCBs do too, yeah. So you want to, if you are going to eat fish, do a smaller fish. But unfortunately, the oceans are polluted, and a lot of fish that like if you order fish at a restaurant, it's most likely farmed. If you watch a video of farmed fish, you will
never eat it again.
You'll never eat it again.
And the farmed fish are pumped usually with antibiotics because they're like literally wiggling in place. They are so packed in these farms that their fat content, their saturated fat and cholesterol content is very high, and the fiber content is 0. There is not a shred of fiber in any animal product on earth, including fish. And we just waxed on about how important and awesome fiber is.
True. Yes, 100%. You could put them in the oven. You can.
Yes, Patricia asked that, and Chrissy answered.
You can.
Put these burgers in the oven, baby.
You may. Yes. I mean, for the illustration, we wanted to get them done here. You were doing them stovetop. You can 100% put them in the oven. I think they come out a little crispier on the stovetop, but I've made them in the oven too, and they come out just fine. Yeah. They're maybe a little drier in the oven, I would say. Mm-hmm. But they come out great. All right, so they're looking pretty good.
Pretty done.
I think they're pretty done.
So we're going to take a whole grain bun.
We do. I have one right here.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to put my burger on it. That's the bottom. Yes, it is. So this is a 100% whole wheat bun. And then again, we have all our toppings. We have our lettuce.
Oh, and if you are trying to, okay, so buns and grains. So I love everything to be organic and 100% whole grain. You need the word whole. Whole oats, whole rye, whole wheat, whole barley. Whole grains are everywhere. I mean, your basic supermarket, once your eyes are open to it, you realize, oh, this isn't so hard to buy a whole grain spaghetti or other pasta and bread. Here's your trick with bread. You take the total carbohydrates divided by the fiber, and if that number is 5 or less, you found a gold star winner. Dave's Killer Bread, I think, falls into that category. It might be
hard. It's hard to find breads that fall into that category.
It is, and speaking of hard, they're usually hard. Yeah. They're like these breads from like Norway or Sweden that you could like stand on and use as a stool and it won't even dent. Like they're hard breads that have the ratio. But Dave's Killer Bread is a good one. Yeah. And Ezekiel is a great one. And some of the sprouted breads. But anyway, use that trick. Total carbs divided by fiber. If the number is 5 or less, I do this a lot with cereal because cereal is basically candy, unfortunately. There's a lot of added sugars, and that ratio is sometimes like 10. My kids are sad. I really don't let them eat cereal.
I know. It's so hard to find cereal. That's not.
Yeah.
And if you're gluten-free, like I have to be, it's even harder because the fiber is in the whole grains.
Right.
Most gluten-free is not whole grain. It's a lot harder to find. All right. So we're just going to make this look pretty so you can see how beautiful this burger can look. And then someone will take a bite. You'll take a bite because it's a whole wheat bun.
Oh, right. Okay. Okay, gluten-free lady. I need avocado then. So 13 grams of fiber in a medium-sized avocado. Yes, I'm all about the fiber. What else has fiber? Berries, like a cup of raspberries has 8 grams of fiber. Whole pearled barley cup has 6 grams of fiber. A cup of broccoli has 5 grams of fiber. Lentils, 1 cup of lentils has 15 grams of fiber. So I don't want you to tell me that you can't get your 30 grams. 30 grams is the bare minimum. If you consume 30 grams of fiber daily, you will drop your breast cancer incidence by up to 40%. So please. Yes. almost forgot the best part. I almost didn't put the onions on my burger. How could that happen? And I love mustard. I'm gonna put mustard.
Oh yeah,
on.
I have mustard.
Okay.
Right here. Dijon.
Make sure your ketchup, start reading labels, guys. There is so much high fructose corn syrup. It's never in the organic kinds, but the non-organic, which is what you're gonna find in your restaurants, it has high fructose corn syrup.
This is pretty good. It doesn't have that much sugar.
No, it is. It is a good one, actually. And the Trader Joe's organic ketchup is good.
Yeah.
Miss Trader Joe's shopper.
Yeah.
Priscilla is asking, what would be the top foods in a plant-based diet for iron and for calcium?
Tofu,
Yes.
beans, lentils, prunes, right?
Which?
Prunes? Don't they have a decent amount of iron?
Yeah, they do. And you know what? You're gonna. Oh, what's the? I'll post it tomorrow. There's a I have it on a link that I send to patients when they're worried about being anemic on a plant-based diet, which, by the way, plant-based eaters have no more anemia than any meat eater. But if you are anemic, you need to pay attention to the iron.
Yeah, fun fact, I was always anemic before I went plant-based.
And then
I
fixed
haven't
it.
ever had an issue with it, so go figure.
I have slides in my summit. Come to my summit. I talk all about those
That
topics.
looks so good.
I know.
Like, I want one.
You need one. Get one of your gluten-free. You have a gluten-free bun. Okay.
I feel like our cameraman needs one.
Thank you. Our cameraman does need one. Hey, babe. Thank you, Andy Funk, for being an awesome cameraman and question poser. I am so grateful to Chrissy for doing this Cook Live with me, and I'm so excited about seeing you guys at our next Cook Live, which will be announced shortly. We're going to pick a date in May. We're going to do it every month, and maybe more if you become as obsessed as we are with cooking.
Yes. We would love that.
I hope you learned a ton.
We have to put some sauce on.
I forgot the sriracha sauce.
That's okay. We'll get back to that. But thank you. I hope you learned a lot. I hope that you will come back and learn lots, and because we're going to make many different things, and I think what we're going to do too is like try out some ethnic foods, because we love cooking like Italian plant-based.
I'm obsessed with Indian food lately.
Japanese plant-based, Vietnamese plant-based. That's what's fun about trying all these different types of foods, and then finding those 10 things that you get really good at making.
Right.
And that's all you need, because that's probably what you have now. So it's easy, and it's not easy at first. I will say that. Did you have a hard time at first?
I have to confess, only for like a week. I opened the fridge and I was like, what am I going to do?
Yeah.
Like peanut butter and jelly? What's happening? My go-to was beans and cheese, vegan cheese and rice in a burrito. Like it was basic. And then like salsa and guacamole. Like that was an easy thing. You could put some corn in that. And we had burritos a lot.
You may find yourself eating a lot of burritos in the beginning.
Right.
But then you'll start branching out, and it gets easier and it gets fun to experiment. So.
And we're here. We're here to make it fun and
right.
accessible and easy. So thank you so much for joining us. You have to watch me take a bite because I want to tell you how good it is.
So good. All right, I'm going to get one. All right, bye guys.
I basically can hear the cancer cells dying.